There we go. Good thing I did a mic, check the mic setting. uh, Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Singularity. Let's play. This is Northstar. The mic was not recording there, so I do apologize for a second that I said that twice, not as well the second time. Let's try and talk about something for a second other than billionaires and fascism, even though that's constantly on my mind with what's going on in the world today. Uh, Cats. You see them, you love them. It's a YouTube thing. Uh, and I'm currently doing the cat exploration here. Spiked tongues got your tongue. My cat got your tongue. That's a mildly cute reference. It's not really worth it to try and compete for the top 100 or even usually the top 250 slot if it wasn't the fact that I already got there. Just getting the tongue award. Anyways, cats. So I'm doing this. It's a little bit of the silliness of some of the explorations. I swear Tierzu had an influence on it in this game. It also makes me think of my Age of Wonders 3 Let's Play, where I play as the Tigrans, which are a cat people, I kid you not, which I'll probably be doing some more recording of today. There's buffers, so I mean, who knows how long after this is posted before that posts, but because there's a buffer, there's stuff going up every 2 or 3 days there, so check out the Age of Wonders 3 Let's Play. My long COVID, it's stressful and tiring for me to do much of anything sometimes. So today I've just been trying to work up the energy to check the map there and toy with the mechanisms of that game a little, because I don't remember if you can pause production on something to work on something else. And I was working on settlers at both my Tiger cities when a flying serpent came out of nowhere, which is a high level monster. And well, what would normally be my garrison was south, fighting some frostlings. And yeah, so I've just been trying to work up the energy to go look at the map and toy with and/or stay the game mechanics that will. Though that won't be for like 4 or 5 hours, so I probably have to do another video besides this one before then. Um, hmm. Oh, whatever. I've kind of burnt out a tiny bit on Alpha Centauri, so Star from the daily thing. I have to click multiple times with this. So yeah, I may mess with Age of Wonders 3 a bit. I've also got my pop-up dungeon Let's Play, which if I go back and do the Run Home campaign again, in that you actually get a cat, like a sentient cat, as a companion. Chimazine. Yeah. Game devs have leaned into the fact that people like cats and I think they're cute. I've unfortunately never been able to have a cat because I live with a family member who is very much abusive jerk and says they're very strongly allergic to cats. I think they may be exaggerating some just because they don't like a creature that they can't utterly dominate. But maybe I am wrong. I think it's partly in this person's head how strongly they refused to get allergy shots, but of course they could have done this, try and see if they could, get the allergies reduced. Of course, they also won't let me have a dog, and because of my long COVID, too sick to work, trying to make YouTube my livelihood. Although that's very tough, and tough to try and get this to where I can monetize it, which I'm nowhere near yet. And tougher still to get to where it makes a decent amount of income while the government comes after disabled people, makes excuses about people not wanting to work. Bullshit. What they're going to do is victimize disabled even more and just claim that it's, oh, in people's head. I mean, we have a government that's freaking denying the proven science on vaccines and trying to disband the vaccine departments. Uh, yeah, vaccines are quite darn safe. The number of documented incidents are very low, not non-existent, like some people try and claim, but very, very low. And it, the risks of not getting vaccinated greatly outweigh the risks of getting vaccinated anytime, and not just to other people, to the person getting vaccinated. I mean, the stuff you get vaccinated against can very much kill you. And people say, well, these diseases aren't around. Well, they're coming back because so many idiots like these motherfuckers won't get vaccinated. So, because they're, whether or not they wanted to say when it was safe, oh, I don't need to take a risk to protect everyone else. All it takes is enough people thinking like them, and suddenly they're at risk too, and they are at risk now. It's illogical bullshit, and it's an attempt to find people to blame and scapegoats to avoid focusing on. Here I am right back on it. Billionaires, the people who are really making their lives worse. So they focus on, yeah, there have been instances of questionable vaccine safety in like the 1800s. Um, I have a book on it actually, which is actually called The Panic Virus. It's mostly about how partly a few of these incidents in the 1800s and a lot of misinformation and bullshit in modern era has led to a scare and to people being completely illogical, but acknowledges the times where bad things did happen, which I said were mostly before the year 1900 to give you an idea how far back. Because a lot of the safety issues of vaccines were worked out a long time ago. Anyways, and if there's any risk still, it's not because the science of how to do stuff safely is understood. It's because you have heartless, soulless corporations, which are being legally considered people, even though people have souls and corporations do not. They're just machines, essentially institutions, and institutions don't have souls. Soulless institution is a phrase for a reason. They're institutions that are dedicated only to making profit for a select few, and so yeah, corners might be cut and rules and regulations disobeyed sometimes and the whole thing covered up, I'm sure. I doubt that's the case here, but if it were happening, it would be because of capitalism, the very thing they guarantee you 99.9% of these anti-vax idiots do not want to point a finger at. Because as I said, in fact, if anything, it's a scapegoat to avoid looking at capitalism more deeply. Find stupid little things to blame for their problems. Is that the real reason our society is such as vaccines? Not, oh, I don't know. Billionaires taking all the money and buying the politicians. It's ridiculous. And yeah. But yeah, cats are cute. I'm very mildly allergic to them, but not enough that's ever been a problem. In fact, I was an EMT. I still remember one time this uh, adorable cat. Some cats are, my earlier experience with cats have been standoffish ones that were hiss at you from under sofas. Honestly, probably a reflection of the personalities of some of the owners who had them who did not. Kind of narcissistic pricks who probably couldn't make an animal their priority. Cats I'd seen before, like, or also a cat of a very elderly person who probably couldn't care for it properly. But when I was in EMT, I saw, much wider selection of cats. Most of the cats' patients were just such nice greasers. Unlike some dogs who would try and rip your throat out for messing with their owner while they were sick, even though you were trying to help them, like help the owner. But, even touching the owner would cause some dogs to go crazy. But just remember one dialysis patient I would pick up frequently, and her cat would just come and like rub up against my leg and just be the most adorable thing. That cat was friendlier than most dogs I met. Uh, my first thought was not, ooh, allergies. No, maybe I'll get a little bit of a sniffly nose later. It's like, oh, how cute. That was many years ago, but it's a good memory. It's good to have some of those, especially when you're suffering horrendously under a system that treats you as a disabled person like you don't matter, like your life is worthless, and puts me in a situation where I have no choice but to rely on shitty family members to survive because I sure as hell can't depend on, say, government housing programs to have a place of my own because those programs have like 9-year waiting lists. And SSI because it takes forever and ever and ever to get to the disability clearance system. I'm still waiting to hear back from the assholes. And they're probably going to fuck me, like, even though they have all my medical records, say, oh, you must see one of our doctors. And then their doctors are infamous for telling people they're not really sick no matter what. And if I refuse to do that, because you legally can refuse, they'll probably be like, oh, well, we don't have to prove you if you don't see your doctors. We don't have enough information, even though, I have leading doctors along COVID. So I can very much testify that I'm quote, a textbook case. Not even, there's nothing abnormal about my presentation, according to the guy who was in charge of the long COVID clinic. Like, I mean, not that he was asked there was, but he described it as a textbook case. I think he described it as a textbook case of severe long COVID, so I guess I like to say it's not as severe as the people who can't get out of bed at all, but it qualifies as being on the more severe end in medical terms. I don't know. Some days I can't get out of bed for a good 4 hours, but then I muster some energy. I usually hardly get out of bed. Some days I get up, I shower, I grab some coffee, and then I lie down for 4 hours. And then the coffee starts to kick in, and I have enough energy to do some stuff, barely. Trudge around, and I have good days occasionally where I can do a lot more, but it's a tough disease. Tell your politicians to invest in research for long COVID because it sure as hell ain't happening without protest. And yeah, I know there's so many things. There's Gaza, there's long COVID, there's billionaires taking over our government. The key thing is not to see them as a million separate issues to get overwhelmed. It's to see the connections. I mean, I was a biologist. Still, I'm in a way, I'm trained in biology. That will never go away, no matter if I'm not doing it anymore or not. I'm trained as a biologist. I learned from early on, and in fact, I always naturally saw things this way. And biology just reinforces tendency to see the connections between things. Whether you're looking at a web of biochemistry interactions, of enzymatic interactions, and metabolic cascades of things, or it's not really the right word, but where you have metabolic processes where something goes through an enzyme and another enzyme and another enzyme, whether it's that or cell regulatory processes or genetic interactions. Everything in biology is all about interactions. And it's easier to understand things if you see the interactions. That's a valuable perspective for our world today. What ties it all together, what's at the center of it all, is capitalism. It's the profit motive. It's the interests of the billionaire class being prioritized above all else. That is how you can make sense of what's going on in our world. I know some people are like, oh, you're ridiculous, call me this, call me that. This toxic family member, say what, this toxic family member takes to bag, oh, you call me, which is an insult, but fracker. I'm not a communist. I am a Marxist, but not a Marxist-Leninist, and there's good reasons for that. Lenin was very wrong about a couple key things, even though he was very right about most things. But the most important of those is democratic centralism. That pretty much guarantees the formation of an oppressive one-party state over time, which is what the Soviet Union was. politically oppressive, although economically people had free housing, free health care, greatly highly subsidized food, free education. Uh, Workers were much better off in the Soviet Union than under the capitalist regimes that followed. And you can't compare it to the West because Western countries were much wealthier, much better developed, and had long histories of democracy. And you have to compare to what came before and after. And the Soviet workers were better off both than what was both before and after. And if socialism comes to say the United States, American workers would have been better off than what came before. And if that system had ended up collapsing after. You have to compare things to the same country to how you can envision things or how the things turned out later after a system changed. And when you do that, socialism, socialists are right, and we can do better than the Marxist Leninist shit, anyways. Though I will gladly ally myself with the Marxist Leninists if they're going to be the only freaking people who will push for any real change sometimes. You know, if I were in a country where there was an actual parliamentary system, I'd probably vote for a different socialist party, but I would not be against that party forming an alliance with them to form a governing coalition with Marxist Leninists with one of the communist parties because left unity is important. There just aren't enough leftists to be constantly divided amongst ourselves on everything, and the capitalists will keep it that way until capitalism is abolished. It's not really possible to focus on working out which of the different socialist branches is correct. That comes as capitalism is finally showing that it's going to collapse. Then you can, or has already, then you can start worrying about that stuff more. Anyways, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe, I mean, I'm not saying people shouldn't debate these issues earlier, just that they shouldn't hate each other. That's what the bourgeoisie, the high bourgeoisie want, is for socialists to always be turning against each other. Anyways, wish you folks all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind yourselves. May you always find a guy and start and lead you home. I'm not doing great on energy here, so I'm going to cut this video here. Farewell.